Good afternoon. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Peter, founder, creator of Serotonin Milkshake, your favorite coastal elite deep state individual. Anyway, there's a joke behind that, and I'll get to that. Hopefully, quality content here with meaning and purpose and value. Some interesting happenings in the news recently, and I may be a little bit behind the times because I'm just old, and that's what happens to old people. They just get behind the times a little bit, not too much, but I've made a vow to not watch as much news, which is basically no news over the next few years, but we'll see how that goes. I wouldn't have any content here, but then again, it's not a political channel. That's not what it's meant to be. It's meant to be happy, joyful experience, with some great conversation embedded. So I wanted to start off by saying I'm in a good place. I'm happy to be back recording. I have been about 11 days out of a surgery now that was very heavy duty, I would say. Kind of knocked me on my butt. It was a total shoulder replacement, left arthroplasty, left shoulder total replacement arthroplasty. And so I'm glad to be back here. Anyway, so a couple of, I had several topics that I wanted to introduce today, and I couldn't put my finger on just one. So I figured maybe I might be able to blend two that were too similar, had similarities, and basically, one complements the other, basically. So that is going to be the mindset, basically, of the country, the division. Again, I think we're kind of at a lull. I think people are just super quiet. They're just, doing their thing. They're going about their business, and holiday shopping. Having gotten ready for Thanksgiving, and now Christmas. Of course, it's the same old rigmarole. Now you can tell how old I am. So basically, current events. Wow. So no social media for 16 and under in Australia. That's pretty crazy. Wonder how they're going to be able to contain that situation. And also, these are the current events that I'm sure you probably may have already caught on to. I think of the Australian one, I'm pretty much on point, but I think the other historical news events that have happened in the past are probably going to be something you probably have already heard about. But I'm just getting to the topic now. But I'll try to stay as current as possible, and open as possible. So please ask questions. Please just ask questions. Text me questions. Give me content for the next show. I love sitting around and researching online and figuring out, all these wonderful, learning opportunities that we have in today's age, the digital age. The inspiration, again, comes around from years of watching YouTube channels, being able to, I call it internet for the eyes and ears. And basically, it's just so stimulating to me. Somebody who's a kind of a hypersensitive, not introverted, kind of quirky, weird person. I like to, some friends of mine will tell you that. It's a wonderful place for me to live in terms of like learning new skills, basically being able to, participate in some of my favorite hobbies, one of them being guitar, and learning so much, from YouTube University. So, but I've benefited, and I'm blessed that I've just been a part of this community. I started a channel months ago, and I just never activated it until just recently. But anyway, I am so excited to be here, and I'm very happy, and I hope you are too today. So, but anyway, we'll get into it. So the other topic, a newsworthy topic that I thought might be of mention, would be the Joe Rogan Donald Trump interview. And this is where I'm going to marry a couple of talking points into this episode. And it's funny because this morning I ran into an actual YouTube person that was online and talking from a different part of the country, from where I am from where I hail, which is the northeast of New England, the northeast portion of this country, older than dirt, but the country is very old in and of itself, but very different life up there, very different lifestyle. I've lived in the South for 25, 30 years, and I think that, some 25, 30 years, and I think that there's a lot of differences that I can still see between cultures, even within the country, North and South. And it's just really interesting, and I don't understand, as everybody has the same opportunity, to flex their mind, to be able to think, rationally for themselves and beyond. But one point and then a counterpoint would be, what this particular person was mentioning, and kind of how I took it, and I figured that I might be a pretty good person in terms of being so analytic and being somebody that can basically really notice things quickly, and my mind, it's a curse and it's a blessing, because it's a creative opportunity there, but also it is a curse in that my mind races, Mach 5 with 50 million things in it all the time, 24/7. So I really just have to really slam on the brakes for me to catch a breath. And that's part of this show. And it's also, for me, it's being able to listen, active listening, being able to express myself, being able to be comfortable in front of a camera, being able to talk to somebody like they're sitting right next to me in my living room, all kinds of different wonderful professions that actually, have titles that reside, within this industry of this entertainment kind of digital, creation space that is YouTube. But I found out that I believe there is a need and a want for more authentic conversation, authenticity, so to speak, and where people really just, there's I see this eye candy that's out there in terms of digital content that I can see now. I understand. I'm kind of doing a deep dive into the whole YouTubing experience, and you just learn all these little nuances as you go, but and you read a lot and you see a lot, and I'll tell you what, these shorts and these reels, I get it. I get the likes, I get the subscriptions, the subscribing, and the need, definitely to do that and engage your followers into quality content. So I understand. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about what I noticed in this person's post when I was just kind of surfing a little bit earlier through the channel, and basically, or through channels, on the platform. And I wanted to just kind of mention, what was said and basically how I would kind of perceive it. Now, knowing from where I'm from, and now knowing where I'm from, and, I love the entire country. I'm definitely a patriot, and I love all walks of life. I really, really do. I try to understand people, active listening. I try to relate, and even more so now, I think, in my later years, it's wisdom when you have less time in front of you than you do behind you. I think you catch up with a lot of critical thinking, and that's where I'm at today. I just want to share, and I want to be able to really kind of exchange ideas and communications. But anyway, so there is a vast difference, and I'm not gonna put my finger on it per se, or just call anything or anyone out. I'm just gonna, we're all hopefully intelligent. We're all born with the same opportunity in terms of having a biological makeup, having a brain, being able to exercise. Although sometimes I wonder, but anyway, I'm not going to get off topic on that one, but everybody's born with a brain, right? Okay, so that's a fact, hopefully, mostly. But anyway, so what I saw this morning and how I would reply, or what I'm thinking about these statements as I am watching this video. And I think it's probably about 20 minutes long. And I said, well, this is going to be educational for me for sure. But there were a couple of things that were said in the video that I was okay with, because I could understand, both from a personal and, well, mostly from a personal standpoint. And I can go through them, and I will pull them, topic for topic, and basically we can, pick apart what might be of interest, for us to talk about, and then basically, go on from there. And so I just want to get my notes here ready, so basically what was said was, this person was complaining about driving all the way to their hometown for the 2024 election. And I don't know what that's 150 miles, I think, is what was said. And first of all, I was able to fill out a kind of a register very quickly for a kind of a substitute ballot in a different county, okay, than I had currently lived in the same state. But I'm quite certain that this would have been an available choice for this person had they just asked at a desk, that they didn't have to, drive 150 miles to go vote. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound to me like too much pre-planning. So I was a little bit, that was the first thing that I noticed right off the bat, was that this person was just driving all this way to just go cast his vote. And then went ahead and said that he didn't care. He didn't care necessarily about voting again because, there's nothing anybody can do. Okay, so that's huge. That's a big pill to swallow. Basically, it is what you can do, and it's all that you can do, and it's what we need to do. There's so many adjectives that could describe, I think, the immaturity of that statement, or just at least the lack of understanding how this country works anyway, from a government and a democratic standpoint. Anyway, that just kind of shook me a little bit, because I didn't necessarily feel like going out and voting, but I did anyway. I mean, I just did it. I just went out there, and just by myself. I didn't go in a pack. I didn't go with friends. I didn't go, I had a ballot mail-in, but I didn't use it. And I just went out. It was local, and I just looked it up, and it was easy, and if I can do it, anybody can do it. But anybody, but, this person's saying this is going to be the last time they're going to vote. Well, to me, that's just a very limited, statement in terms of saying, okay, well, I'm making a decision now. It's never going to change. This is the way it's going to be for me. I mean, I know already this type of person is probably going to, chime in on the same subject matter in the future and say the same thing again, probably. So it's probably, I'm sure this person might vote again, but saying that you're never going to do something again, I've learned to never say never, because you just never know. I mean, honestly, that's what life is. It throws you curveballs all the time, and you have to know what to do with them. And then mostly they're not so favorable, and people don't like, the fact that, these happenstances through life that have, a derogatory value, we don't like them. Of course, we don't like them. We don't like going to war. We don't like, feast or, famine. We don't like disease. We don't like homelessness. We don't like, inequality. I mean, these are things I care about, like, caring about, equal rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We could go on and on. But anyway, this person went on to say that they're not a politician. And he said it was out of his control. So I guess that was just the topping on the, the frosting on the cake there. Nothing he could do, and it was out of his control. Well, I'll tell you, if we all had that mindset, we'd be sitting on a bunch of nothing, because we wouldn't have anything, we wouldn't have a democracy. So that's not the way it works, and that's not what you should do, and that's not how it works, in my opinion. Then he went on to saying, I'm never going to go back to my hometown because, in so many words, I had become successful. I had become, this person that was a kind of a forward thinker, somebody who had changed. His life has changed, and he was just so much better of a person that he didn't really have a whole lot to, relate to going back home to a small southern town in this country where he was born and bred. And that's just not how my mind thinks. I basically, today I would want to think that I could go anywhere and make a difference in anyone's life, just no matter how many times I've been there. I do understand the fact that if you do become successful and then you go back, to say it's a high school reunion or whatever, and you go back and everybody's kind of, comparing, checking accounts or whatever. But, I get that. I mean, I came from, that unfortunate upbringing, where it was just, I grew up in DC, extremely competitive and, extremely social, and something in circles I could care less about. I found my circles, found my people, and I just ran with it. But at any rate, don't go back, being, this person was referring to folks that had found themselves stagnant in life, where they just weren't moving forward like he was moving forward. And I just think that was a little arrogant, a little over the top. But to his credit, I will tell you that it was said. I understand how he said it and what he meant by saying it, but I don't think that the inflection, the verbal inflection, or kind of any kind of not verbal cues, but his body language and his wording and his delivery just wasn't, it didn't come off that way to me. It came off as a little bit, what do you call it? Arrogant, conceited. Moving on forward, saying that he was a high performance person. Again, he said, this is something I had to give him a pass on because this has actually happened to me as well. I love my background, and I love how I was brought up, and I love who I I love who I am as a person. There you go. I'll just say it. It's true. I do. A lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. I continue to make mistakes, but I think that's the way we grow. If you're not making mistakes, you're not growing. If you're not challenging yourself at something new, you're not growing. Anyway, this person said, I wear nice clothes. I drive a nice car now. I came from nothing, and now I have something. And my salary is this, and all their salaries are about half of mine now. And basically, I get called gay, okay, because I have nice things. I live in a nice house. I live in a nice car, and I dress nicely. I can relate to that actually because I've been through that. I can understand that. So I'm just going to leave that one alone. But anyway, so furthermore, this person's, again, we're dissecting a little of the reasonings behind, why somebody like this, I guess, from, certain Democrat, be a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. Demographical areas, I think, why we're trying to dissect a little bit as to why folks, might say something brash, off the cuff, or quickly, not thinking something through, why they said something and then why the other country hears something else. So that's what we're talking about, just to keep us back on point. But again, he was talking about dating some people in this town. He was talking about women. He called them bad names. And I completely, I just wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do that. I take this show very seriously. Now I'm doing some interesting experimental activities with my channel, and hopefully, I'm going to learn how to keep it very, very clean and very professional. And that's just who I am. But also very engaging and very entertaining. Obviously, that's kind of a no-brainer for this particular industry, and with digital content, following suit, all that good stuff. So it's all married together, and it's all equally important. But anyway, he was name calling, and that's all I need to say about that. I would never get on here, talk to the entire world, and basically call out names. I just wouldn't do that. So anyway, to finish up on this. person's episode. Then he went on to like this subject matter that I just don't even relate to because I don't have it, and I don't. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's whatever you want it to be, neutral, whatever. But he's talking about child support, having to pay child support, and kind of getting back on his feet, and creating some kind of a financial foundation for him and his family, and being successful that way. Well, then he went on. That's fine. That's fine. Be successful. Take care of your family. Love your child. Hate your ex-wife. Whatever it is. But don't. At the same time. And I think he's talking about beating child support. So I thought that was just bad. And it just bad for relationships. Even though he is trying to protect his son or daughter or whomever his child might be. That person's, no matter what his behavioral condition would be with his ex, he's still gonna, his behavior is still going to, trickle out and trickle down, so to speak, to his child. So no matter what he does, he should be responsible, and he should be trying to say things in a way that that aren't going to hurt his family anyway. That's how I took it. I basically was like, I don't want to sit here online and talk about child support. Why would I do that? There's a million other things to talk about. So anyway, and then he just kind of ended his episode, with this level of profanity. I think at the very end, he wasn't so bad, but mostly there was enough impact of profanity, within the 20 minutes that was basically a big turnoff for me. So I don't know. So some of the pros and cons, in my opinion, the best sentence that's ever been created. Because that means you can say pretty much whatever you want, and nobody can say anything because it's your opinion. You'd be surprised how many people that you say that to just kind of back off, like if they're trying to have a debate with you. I learned that not too long ago. It wasn't something that just happened. It was just I never had incorporated that language or that particular statement into my conversations with people, and then I found out, I have such a kind of a quirky, weird, disposition in life as an introvert, but I love the special people in my life. I absolutely adore the people that are, in my life that know me and would know me certainly, and they would know that wasn't an issue. Anyway, so. This also piggybacks on top of the Joe Rogan and Donald Trump interview, which I thought was fascinating. And so again, instead of talking about the individual, we're talking about some 30 million odd individuals. But anyway, so I wanted to just kind of get into a little bit of what I got out of that 3-hour content, and how it made a difference into for what I was thinking, and what my views were on his disposition. And I saw a completely different Donald Trump sitting there talking, and it was kind of casual Donald Trump. It wasn't trying to be the president Donald Trump or professional Donald Trump or whatever you want to call it, which it doesn't exist in my opinion, but there it is, in my opinion. I can have it. So the deep state elite New York City generations ago. Now I have to speak to this personally, okay? And I think you could probably, if you just read between the lines, it's no secret that people that know me would know that I am initially from New York and Connecticut, and I just was reared and came up in the Washington, high, society, kind of the one with the most toys wins, that type of keeping up with the Joneses people. I came from all that. I understand all that, and I didn't when I say I came from that, I mean that my family has nothing to do with it, but everything to do with it in terms of society and what that looks like, and a keen understanding as to what that is and what that looks like. So no pointing fingers at family members or anything like that. So but the Trump family dynasty, okay, they allegedly were kind of shut out, by these high society, socialites that lived in worked in New York City. And I think, from a very early age, I think Donald Trump was probably affected deeply by not being accepted. So I think acceptance is the issue there. I don't think it was basically, the behaviors of anyone. I think if those doors were opened and he walked through them, I think that, who knows, there might have been a much different Donald Trump than the one that we see today. You just don't know. But anyway, that just goes for, race classification, not race, but just any kind of demographic classification of any type, whatever word you want to put in there into that equation, whether it be male, female, gay, straight, whatever that is, whatever it works for you. Basically, I think that I think he was just took that as a real blow, when he wasn't accepted, and I think that was probably an issue. And this is drawn not from the notes that I most recently took off of the interview, but these are notes that I've taken from previous documentaries that I've seen on the subject matter. But anyway, so this was probably Donald Trump's worst experience, with total rejection, and so. Being on this course, it created jealousy and exclusion and probably embarrassment for Donald Trump. And so I believe, that this, had he known his truth, or just knowing this truth, that these were the exact same people that were doing this to him, were in my family, per se. Like I said, they were not my family. I don't know, but not pointing any fingers at anyone, any classification or grouping of any type of people, European, whatever it is, from a heritage standpoint, or from a how you were brought up. That's very important. But again, there's no there's no real understanding today of what this must have been like, in terms of him witnessing this as a child, and then, coming up under his father, Fred. But anyway, so I might have an ancestral tie to the exact people that were in a position to do this, to the Trump family, who were probably, trying to get through those closed doors and trying to have acceptance, and, it just doesn't discriminate, But anyway, so that's a perception that I have, and but again, I don't know. There's so many moving parts to people that live, huge sectors and pockets and of population, and areas that cities, towns, the country. It just all depends on who you're talking to, and what they were exposed to, and for how long, and when, and where, and with who. So anyway, so again, countless documentaries helping me out with YouTube, and just love it. Reading material based on Donald Trump and his presidencies, has really drawn a lot of light to this subject matter for me. I mean, I don't really care. I didn't want this to be a political channel, but again, like, his content is so rich and so full that I can, no wonder it's a journalist's, jackpot. I mean, this guy, this is just awesome. I mean, the more he's around, the more tension and frenzying there is that's going on, not only around the man, but just the city, state, county, whatever, the world, the state, the country. I mean, not necessarily in that order. Anyway, who knows, but it's just behaviors that I've noticed, so I was watching this Joe Rogan podcast. But so for 3 hours I sat there, and I said I was going to watch every last minute. It was just prior to Trump's victory, because the airing, predated his victory for the 47th presidency of the United States. But anyway, moving on. I heard a different disposition with Donald Trump speaking with Joe Rogan, which I think comes, with all his so-called allies. I think in his perception, as he is able to relax a little bit and not be, so much on guard. Now I know a lot of people probably think with people like Donald Trump, he doesn't even know that he has to be on guard. He just just bullishly gallops through and crashes everything around him as he comes onto the scene anywhere. But so eloquent or not, I don't think he knows any better. But what I mean by that is that, like, when it seemed like he was in a relaxed state, with Joe Rogan. He wasn't having to put on, any kind of a show. He wasn't reading a script. So it seemed. And he just was just a different Donald Trump than I had normally seen coming out of the White House. So, making speeches and things of that nature, trying to be presidential, I've heard. But so this was a different disposition for him. And so this is where I think a lot of things could be said from Donald Trump that we don't, in a light that we don't normally see him in, or at least I don't see him in. But he seemed very comfortable. So as an ally, I want to give kudos to Joe Rogan, because he definitely stuck to his points and his viewpoints and his beliefs. And, you could definitely tell where they were. And he was very on point and on track and tried to do that for Donald Trump too. But again, a little later, I'm sure, talking about Donald Trump further, we all know that he just kind of, goes off on a tangent and starts talking about anything and everything that he wants. And, he's not staying on point. So good for Joe Rogan for being able to bring him back, and get, keeping him on the subject matter that he was trying to talk about. But so, a face to face, strong opposition. Trump, he becomes offensive, childish, nervous, insecure, and misinformed. And these are all words that we're all familiar with if you've lived in this country for the better part of 8 years. 9 years of going through this, basically it's just really people trying to make sense of it all. And this is just my 2 cents. But I think, misinformed in the sense that he really doesn't have a full grasp on all the facts and all the historical references he makes as he tries to, sound like an adult or professional or being in some kind of leadership role. Some takeaways that I noticed were, are as follows. Overall, he seemed to be able to adapt to just about anybody. He's speaking with an ability to speak in circles around content and get off point and try to, drive the conversation into a positive about anything he believes, that he did, that was just, such a wonderful outcome. And I noticed, with remarkable annoyance, as I can't stand these people to finish a sentence or two, or won't let them. People like this don't let you finish your sentence. Okay, so 2 points there. Basically, talking in circles. Okay, basically not even finishing one thought, and then before you jump into another thought, and then not even letting that person who might be in conversation with you, not even giving them a chance to, think, process, or actually process, then think, and then respond, with any kind of chance. It just doesn't happen that way. It doesn't have to take a long time, but it just give me a minute, right? But anyway, so I know somebody like this, and or I knew somebody like this. And I couldn't stand it. I just really couldn't stand it. And I asked this person once, I said, how much do you really hear about, what I say? I mean, the content that comes out of my mouth, how much of it do you actually process and take to heart or whatever, or think about, or, whatever. And that person said, well, it was an 80-20, out of 100%. He's like, 20% I actually listen, 80% just, in one ear, out the other. So, I mean, these are... I don't know, again, I don't know if all these people in this particular sector of this particular grouping of this particular demographic and this, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if this is not personal towards them. I don't know if it's, these are just observations. I'm not saying that obviously that all people are like this or all these people are like this. I'm saying that these are the people that I particularly don't want to surround myself with, because because life is rich. Life is wonderful when when you can, the exchanging of ideas and having a good, valid conversation, and learning about somebody else. I don't know that there's a catch-on value here. I don't know that there's these folks have been conditioned to care. I think it's probably just a one-sided, this is my opinion, and everybody else can just kind of jump off a bridge, and I could care less. I'm going to have my opinion, and that's it, and I'm not going to care about anybody else's. And so when they cut you off, they just don't care. I mean, that's the perception I got, for that matter, because that person's no longer in my life anymore. But anyway, it's selfish focal statements, about his own, your own superhuman abilities, right? Donald Trump. So he's sitting there saying like, I can fix it. I'm the fix-it president. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. I've been, I'm the one who knows more about this subject or I know this person better, and I know all the generals, and I know all of ISIS, and I know Putin, and I know Xi Jinping, and I know everything, right? There's not anything that I don't know that you can mention that I don't know enough about, and certainly more than you and most everybody else, if not everybody else. So, I mean, I don't know what levels of arrogance you're going to put that category on, but or put that in what category you'll place that, but I'm sure these psychological countermeasures, in conversation, protect the Donald, in deep space, with his mind from one day, as he was born, as I'm putting this together and these talking points, I've remained non-biased, absolutely 100% to my family, to all parties that I've before mentioned, with zero bias. I don't, you can think one way, you can think another way. It's not up to me. Again, and not to emphasize, not to be able to emphasize this enough. I mean, with my family, I love and respect them and appreciate them, and respect their their private life and who they are as people and everything like that, and their opinions, right? So staying neutral, fair, and straightforward, about reality and having a personality, from the human condition. That's all extremely important. And Joe Rogan was doing that. Donald Trump, on the other hand, will circle, dodge, conflate, inflate, deflate, and press for any alternate conversation that would make him feel more comfortable as he speaks to anyone about anything. He tells his own phenomenon, education successes, in book writing, reality experiences, television series, and commercial developing, magnet, basically building buildings and all these, amassing all this, wealth, and all, it's just these confusing numbers, when it comes to wealth or, debt, possibly, with him for sure. But anyway, it comes to wealth or debt working suspiciously inside unhealthy relations under his father, Fred. And then again, I think with a lot of those societal issues of kind of being, is there any doubt in anybody's mind that people weren't outraged at this type of behavior, from this family in the past? Because I'm going to guess that his dad probably, may or may not have been just, but may not have been much better. And then from his mom, I hear she's pretty horrifying as well. So, from his family members, from people within his family, we get these insights. But anyway, so, setting a cap off of the general construct, I witnessed in his overall total conversational ability that when, pressed up against a wall, Trump's going to resort to any means to sound knowledgeable, intellectual, factual about any topic faced with, when in fact he knows very little about many things. He did continuously cut Joe Rogan off when Joe Rogan was just trying to get to the point of any talking point. Trump seemed to just get off topic and reel and rally around topics only he knew about and that were exciting for him. And then again, knowledge is tied to that as well, because there was not a whole lot of substance there, as everybody already knows that when Donald Trump is trying to sound like he knows what he's talking about, it becomes even worse. But apparently not for this 30,000 estimated number of Americans that live in this country. Apparently it's just, it's the gospel practically. So anyway, so Joe Rogan was just trying to get to the point, on talking points. And Trump obviously, he's got many faces, in his MAGA face, his White House everyday face, his dealings in darkness face, his facing the general public face, and most notably his two faces. From continually getting off topic on very direct questions about election fraud, energy, environmental news, networking, and dishonesty, disinformation, and ethics. So whether you like the man or not, or believe him or not, unfortunately, the information in many circumstances Joe Rogan, buys into. So basically, the constant eluding of factual discussions to include science-based information, facts, and law-based outcomes are surreal. To think that one man has all this under control within his power belief system, seemingly wanting to write history for the entire world, is a little much for even the Don's shoulders. His verbal, weaponized tactics are so outrageous, but he has to succumb to this brainwashing cult, cult whispering, and unrelentless lying in hopes to have it become some kind of perceived truth through repetition coming down on a very misfortunate group of people called maggots, and that there's nothing else to believe in. All of this just to, for him to even begin to have a leg to stand on, from what I'm talking about here. So basically, to me, this is the most outrageous part of Donald Trump, and what I saw in the last presidency is trying to normalize bad behavior. That was the most disgusting, and he continues to do it. He continues to do it, and he's not fooling, people that are intelligent. People can see right through these types of people. He's not fooling them at all. But if you're going to try to normalize, the fact that, swerving. Let's just say, coming up with an example, just off the cuff here, like say not driving straight in your lane if you're driving, okay, but swerving. If you swerve in your lane, and let's just be crazy about it. Let's just say you've got a threshold of 2 lanes on either side to be able to, to visualize this thing, right? So if everybody all of a sudden started to swerve, people might start saying, oh, we can't stand that about you. You're swerving. We don't do that. We don't do that in this country. It's against the law or whatever. Or I don't even know if it's a law, but it probably is. If you start doing this kind of thing, it's just going to drive people crazy, right? And so, much like a lot of the dialogue and a lot of the information and a lot of conversations that we were seeing and witnessing from Donald Trump in the first administration. But getting back to the example, like if you tell somebody that swerving in and out of your lane is okay and it's normal and it happens and no big deal, right? And everybody should do it or could do it or is able to do it or, that's crazy. Everyone's going to start believing that swerving, out of your lane is okay. And society accepts that. Well, they really don't, and neither does the law. And basically what you're going to end up with is, you have this type of person that believes in that, that's actually going to swallow that pill, that's actually going to say, that's going to believe that, if I'm lied to enough times repetitiously, and kind of in a battleship kind of way, the battleship game, and in a strategic, long game type fashion, I'm going to start believing, what you say is true. Okay. Conspiracy theories, I kind of like to leave it simple with my driving example, but that's exactly what it is. It's like, if you support, and bad behavior, if you support bad behavior and you're not doing anything to, to curb it or to prevent it or to try to, make any sense out of it, then it's just not gonna do anybody any good, right? Yes, there can be changes, there can be paradigm shifts in society, there can be, changes in the way people think, there can be some changes even in science, breakthroughs, mostly in the future though. But I mean, you're not going to change, an intelligent person's mind, somebody who has just common sense, really. I'll stop using the word intelligent and I'll just use common sense, because I mean, who does that? I mean, who's gonna sit there and listen to somebody, whoever it is? I mean, I don't care if it's archangels and the clouds are opening up and this big, Jerry Garcia type face, God face is peeking through the clouds or whatever, and kind of looking down at you and all bearded, and I mean, it's just like, the seas aren't going to part, nothing like that of that magnitude is going to make this person anyway, and probably a lot of people like me, going to believe that doing something horrific is okay, like rape or incest or crime, or taking somebody else's life. I mean, of course it's not that drastic, but close, right? And I'm thinking the latter part of that sentence, but no, I mean, killing is wrong, right? We're not gonna just go around and say like, oh, well, we probably actually do. Excuse me, let me back up a minute, okay? Warfare. I'm not talking about war. I'm talking about just in a general societal way. If somebody thinks that like killing somebody's okay, and you not only tell people over and over and over that it's okay, and then you start doing it and it's okay, people are going to think it's okay. Psychotic people are going to think it's okay. People who walked off the reservation are going to think it's okay. People are going to, people that just can't think for themselves are going to make it okay. Okay. So that's where I'm going with that concept, but stupid. I don't understand. Stupid. Anyway, trying to rewrite, history. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I just don't believe that could ever happen. But anyway, so perceived truth through repetition. Coming down on this, on these misfortunate people is what I would say. They've got nothing else to believe in. They just they have him to believe in, even though he has no leg to stand on in many, 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 and most of his conversations. So as I'm delivering the monologue about this universal, chameleon and snake oil salesman today, I do so, having learned my mistakes, knowing not to repeat them. And I really just, I try to learn from my past, and then, improve my future upon the lessons that were learned, predicting, the probable course, for my future, anybody's future, society's future, the world's future, country's future. So yes, millions have, great reasons to find this person appalling, abhorrent, classless, with any basic knowledge of any depth of any subject matter. I speak today, in a completely non-biased way. Again, it's very important for the show and for me and for the listeners and the audience, because it's just not, there's no judgment here. Without a real care, outside of having, made my democratic, my moderate plans and choices under, moderate contexting, and within my social right to participate in a free and fair election as a U.S. citizen, I won't be paying this man much attention, much mind, hopes that he can at least simply make some good choices and some decisions in the second administration that he won. Of course, see, now we're going to say, like, I'm going to say he won, okay? Because I can believe that. I'm going to err on the side of belief in democracy, and that's the way things work, and that's the way our country works. And yes, there's the Electoral College, of course, and yes, there are people that don't turn out to vote, and yes, all these other I guess you could call them, nuances around, the whole voting conversation. But, if he won, he won. And I'm not going to contest that. I'm not going to carry on for years and years about, oh my gosh, again, here's a continuation. It's a continuum of, the first term's storyline, and it's still going on. And it's still going on. And it was going on on the Joe Rogan podcast. Unbelievable. And in a position where unfortunately both parties, believed in that. So that's just too bad. I just, again, I mean, if you give this man an audience, then you're giving him fuel and you give him oxygen in which to breathe. And so much of my dealings, over the next 4 years, are not going to be, Trump centered. I'm not going to. It's not going. They're not going to be Trump-ish, Trump-centric, Trump anything. I'm really going to just take the news, and then I'm going to introduce it to, this channel, and hopefully we can make some really good insights and, communication breakthroughs, and, basically, again, bridge the gap, kind of going back onto what initially I wanted to do here all along. But not going to pay too much attention, because I made that mistake last time, and like I'm talking about, you want to learn from your mistakes. So hopefully some good decisions will come, and probably not, but we'll hope so. Hopefully we've got some halfway decent minds, surrounding him, within office. His cabinet members have been elected. I know we've been, swallowing, it's like these gigantic pills with every appointment. And then, luckily some removals have been made, or some adjustments have been made. And so we're very fortunate there, but I'm not going to go into any unrest, I'm personally not going to let my mind go there. And in 2028, guess what? On a timeline far greater than any, the magnitude is far greater than anything we could possibly comprehend as a human being. But this 10 years, we just happen to be living next to this, these courses of events, that are happening for us. But if you took a 30,000 mile high up bird's eye view on the situation and the timeline, this is just kind of a blip on the radar, so to speak. Whereas, as Tom Cruise, the actor, wonderful historian now, actually, he went on to say that this is just such a short period of time in the grand scheme of everything. So that made me feel a little bit better when I heard him say it like that. But America's biggest splinter, headache, mistake, and anomaly, under such a subpar human being, we do not accept or I'm not going to accept, in my mind. I mean, I think there's a tilting or a push off point where people just won't accept their decisions being made for them in a profoundly negative way. Let me give you an example. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, pensions, etc. All things government, where somebody very non-governmental has the ability to make decisions and affect people's lives forever. So I'm going to have faith in the fact that we're strong enough to get through everything that this country has gotten through, and so we're going to get through this too. So anyway, regarding any mental illness, this person has a limited empathy for me, but there is a granular level of well-being that I would have for anyone that has displayed such a horrific behavioral history, and have such a this vast personality disorder. So I've always felt that his followers are truly disgusting people. It's not only that they are simply uneducated or somehow were disadvantaged in that they weren't able to grasp hold of the correct opportunities to be educated, emotionally challenged, they're pent up in rurality, sheltered and overlooked, so they say. Again, that was my intro, coming in here as your coastal elite deep stater. So I never said anything derogatory about being some, well, I'll just let that ride. But I don't recall ever remembering saying something so hurtful, like so racist, pretty much in its own way, about another segment or sub-segment of society. Like I just don't constantly blast and put names on people. Whereas I think in this administration, overall, that's all you hear. It's like we're just labeling and calling name calling. It's just unacceptable in a lot of ways. So I've never bought into his this BS, or did I see any reason for anyone to understand why somebody would follow this person based on everything he says and does. And all my life, and in the times that I've been aware of his name, Trump, I have never been impressed, looked up to him, certainly never wanting to have anything, to do with him or his self-promoting will run riot. He definitely doesn't belong in politics and should stay probably amongst the soulless that soar through the financial districts of the streets of New York and Wall Streets of the world. But we don't need, we do need a class statesperson, and a global ambassador that the world will respect as this person doesn't. So, lastly, I've never been intimidated by this person. Not once, not even on TV. I mean, I don't even not even on TV. That doesn't make any sense. Not with anything. Not with words, actions, threats. He's just a planetary cancer that that needs to be removed from daily. I mean that. I don't mean that in a super dark, kind of a chilling, mean, slightful way. But I just mean he just needs to be, removed and placed away from the pockets of society. Okay, in light of democracy. And there's no realistic storyline that ends up with his, any amount of Americans that are going to tolerate the legacy. No one's going to allow this person in a majority to take, 250 years of painstaking sacrifice, social, industrial war, and relentless work towards one nation's mission for freedom, to this one disillusioned man, sick man. It's just never going to happen. And he won't even, and I'll say at the end of this paragraph, is a sentence that, it needs to be probably taken very seriously, but he won't live to see the day. That's just how I see that. So as we embark on a significant, ebb and flow, within our country again for the next 4 years with the same administration, I choose happiness. I'm going to remain happy. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy for the content of this show. It's already made me, happy in ways that I've never imagined. I believe that I have the insight to create a channel for healthy communication, to disembark from any topic that was obviously, manipulated for bad and not for progression and serotonin shake. Since having started this launch about a month ago, I felt a profound sense of happiness and joy, and knowing that not only can I help myself, but even if it's just one other person, even if I have very few subscribers now, but enough in that if I could change anybody's life with some sort of insight in my years of going around the sun, trips around the sun, I'll be happy. I'll be happy knowing that, believing in my plight. If I depart this earth, having at least helped maybe one or two people and made their lives slightly calmer and a more rational place, then I think this would be conceived or construed as good work. Thank you very much. I know we had a longer episode there, but it was very important to me to kind of, again, to cap on what, to really, and I can continue to do this because I live this. I mean, I have these opinions and beliefs and embedded, characteristics within me, but taking the Donald Trump of the world, I won't say the Donald Trumps of the world, unless you extend it to MAGA, but then you take MAGA and Donald Trump and try to just kind of break down these mindsets and just try to understand, hey, if this is truly how you believe because of this reason, and this reason, then great. Then, there's no problem. I mean, but, if you can't substantiate or, and you're just constantly, in this destructive create mode, then it just doesn't work for anybody. And, basically, one of my goals, out of thousands of goals, is not to talk about Donald Trump and anything that he does, because I personally think it's a waste of time and energy, but just, basically to integrate into, this particular dilemma for so many, on occasion and when it matters the most, is very important for people to kind of, vent their frustrations, or, try to support their claims, or to try to, understand the other person's point of view, with some kind of contentment. That is the point of the show. And so I know it was a big topic, but I want to thank everybody for being here. Please, if you can, I know it's a very busy world out there, but if you could subscribe and like, if you've liked what you've seen so far, I would really appreciate it. And I really look forward to doing this every week at least. And I really look forward to, understanding my key audience. And I already have a pretty good idea who they are. I've been doing some research, but hopefully I can expand upon that. From a base and a democratic. Everything needs to be democratic from this Democrat standpoint. No, from honestly, from a demographic standpoint, I would love to reach as many different types of people that I can, no matter what walks of life, or what stage you are in your life, age, sex, all of that. I just would love to be able to just connect with everybody that I can. And it's what you need to know. And, it's what you need to hear from not only myself, but everybody else that chimes in. So, I do believe I can express, some quality content there. But again, again, it's just an opinion. A lot of them are just opinions and, my views. And if I can help somebody, great. Then I am a better person. And that's where I want to go. Thanks a lot. And I'll talk to you next time.